I've been speaking to other Iranians in school, and they were saying how Islam views and this is more for clarification on Islam and regarding the sciences. But if Islam doesn't view sciences as like a good thing and views it like a bad thing, how so? How does that play between Islam and science? But also, if this is the case and Islam views science as bad, then why even participate in making a nuclear bomb? That's a form of science. They're basically contradicting themselves. So I was just wondering if you can give me more information regarding that, if you can clear some things up.
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's anything Islam that says science is bad. I would say Islam promotes things that goes against the scientific method. I don't remember anything in Islam that comes and says like, "Oh, don't do science. Science is bad." I don't see that. I see a lot of things in the Quran that contradicts scientific findings. One and two, there are a lot of values in Islam that goes against the scientific method. But there's no statement, "Don't do science. Science is bad." In fact, there are hadiths that says that, "Oh, get wisdom, even if you all have to go to India to get it." Like it does do the virtue signaling of trying to pretend that it's pro science, but it does have a lot of claims about the world, the natural world that is so obviously it goes against science. Like I could give you a list of things in the Quran that violates the laws of science, and I could also tell you one of the main things that I think that the Quran is against is skepticism, right? So basically, it tells you to look at the universe and just believe that this must mean that there's a God, and don't question that. Just believe it. Like don't be skeptical. You know, you must have faith. You must have faith. If you question things, if you're skeptical about things, if you ask too many questions, that's bad. You should just believe. Just believe. No, without questioning things. Like how could you not see? Like just look at this. It's obvious, and I think that's an anti-skeptic viewpoint in the Quran. Basically, it goes against the mindset that makes the scientific method. The people are a fan of the scientific method. The scientific method is completely built upon skepticism, right? But I don't know. Those people give you a specific verse or anything like that?
No, they didn't give me a specific verse, and they didn't give a specific example.
Hmm.
So I was just thrown off by that, and I figure I bring it up to you to see what your point of view is on it.
So let me give you. So the Quran. So even though I don't see any specific places that says science is bad, I could tell you that the Quran says that there's a place in the West that you could go to, and then you will see that's where the sun goes down in. It goes into m- a, a muddy place that the sun sinks to. So like the Quran says that when you see the sun goes to the west, if you go all the way to the west, eventually you will get to the place where the sun is sinking into this muddy pool, and that's where that is. The Quran also tells you that shooting stars are basically angels taking the stars in the sky and throwing it at demons. The Quran also clearly tells you that the earth was formed before the stars, which is not true. It's the other way around. Also, the Quran clearly tells you that the sun and the moon are in the same orbit. Close in the orbit that goes around. It thinks that the sun and the moon go around Earth, and the sun and the moon are in the same. Well, I mean, it does close in the same level kind of orbit, right? The Quran tells you that the sperm comes from a place. Where does it like? It doesn't know that it comes from your testicles. It comes from your backbone. So men, their sperm is well in an area between their backbone and their ribs. That's where it thinks the sperm comes from. The Quran also says that the embryo, like it gets embryology wrong, the order in which the development of the fetus is made. So, first of all, it tells you that it comes from a drop of blood. Okay. I also tells you, if I remember correctly, that I think it. I don't forget there's something about the orders of the bones and then the rest of the fetus that, if I remember correctly, that is the wrong. It's wrong. It's not like we know. It's actually very weird that it gets that wrong, because ancient people knew the order because they had access to fetuses of dogs and cats. Like, this was studied back then. So the fact that the Quran got this wrong, there are many things that the Quran got wrong, that it's not just wrong for us, it was also wrong for, like, people knew better. Like, people are like, oh, what do you expect, Armin? This was back then, people didn't know. Actually, they knew. Like, for example, during Muhammad's time, people knew that the world was round. They knew it. Like, in fact, the ancient Egyptian, like ancient Greek, actually had measured many things about using shadows and stuff. They actually had measured many, the measurements of the globe, right? So they had that, right? So in fact, a lot of people think that ancient people thought the world is flat, but many people in ancient times knew that it's a globe. There was a lot of evidence for it, and the Quran didn't know that. Yeah, the Quran didn't know that. The Quran actually mentions that, very clearly says that the whole world is like a flat carpet. So the list goes on and on and on. Like, there's so many things in the Quran that is unscientific and is very easily proven to be wrong. Like, it gets the basics wrong. It's not even stuff that are details. It gets the basics of the scientific claims from the Quran are wrong. I don't know. Does that help, Kathy?
That really does help your entire time you're explaining these stories. I'm laughing here because it all sounds redonkulous.
Right.
And though you answered my questions, it clarifies a lot. It still all sounds like hokum bullshit to me.
There you go. There you go. Kathy, would you say that that means that the Baha'i faith is also wrong, because the Baha'i faith says the Quran is correct? If the Quran is
So
wrong, would that? Yeah.
I will tell you, even though I am Baha'i, there are things about the Baha'i faith I don't agree with,
Mhm.
and that is one of them. It says the Quran is correct, but the more I talk about it with other Iranians, and the more I'm looking into this, it to me this is all hokum bullshit.
Okay. Okay. How come bullshit? I never heard that before, but okay.
Quran rejecting Baha'i faith. Like they like, okay, we understand that there's other prophets, but we're rejecting Muhammad. Like maybe that could
I recognize the other prophets, but it's not a very. I'm not being a very good Baha'i by saying that I reject Muhammad.
Okay. There
understood. Understood. I have a
90%
question.
Baha'i. Oh, go on.
90%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. Yeah, I don't know if this is a hadith or like I mean, do we count the hadiths? Because the hadith also have some crazy, science. Okay, so like what about this? The eyes are the leather straps of the bunghole. What about that? Is that a hadith? Or is that in the Quran?
I,
There's over here we have some people in the chat saying that the Quran says donkeys can fly. Samantha's mentioning that if you one wing of a fly falls in your soup, you got to put the
yes,
other wing in because that's the cure. Like
not the
that's
soup, your
that
drink.
Momo split the moon. There's some crazy stuff. Oh, we do have a response from a Dajjal. Let me
Okay, but
give
let me
the
respond.
floor to Dajjal.
Let
Wait,
me.
okay, wait on Dajjal. Let him respond.
Yes, yes. So I don't know what that bum thing was, but not so. That is not. I mean, I've never heard of that one. But yeah, once you open the door to the hadith, then you have like endless amount of nonsense that you have to deal with, right? To be fair to the Baha'is only endorse the Quran, not the hadith, right? But the hadith is like, oh my god, it's like crazy once you open that door, right? But so yeah, the fly thing is that we have an authentic hadith from Muhammad saying that if you have a fly that falls into your drink, like your water or something, make sure before you drink the water you dip the fly fully in, because every fly in each of its wings, one wing has a poison on it, like one of its wing is poisonous, and the other wing has the cure for that poison. right? So if a fly drops into your drink, you don't know which one of its wings had touched the water. So what you need to do is you need to make sure you dip it fully into your drink. So if you had gotten the poison into your drink, you also get the cure for it before you drink the water. And this is an authentic hadith, uh, Sahih hadith from Muhammad. Also, we have hadith that tells you camel urine has medicinal benefit. Oh, Jose, your mic is open. So wait, let me. Yeah, so camel urine is good for you. Drinking camel urine is good for you, according to Islamic hadith. And I'm not exaggerating.
Okay, so I found it was a Sunan Abdi Dawood 203, and he says the eyes are the leather strap of the anus, so one should sleep. So one who
Yeah.
sleeps should perform abdulation or wudu. I don't know what that's all about,
Can you send
but it
that to
was
me? This is new. I mean, I've seen a lot of hadiths. This one is new to me. Can you post it link or post it in the chat? I want to see this one.
okay. Here we go.
Okay, but you know,
Post-
while you're doing that, you could let other people speak. Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
All right. Yes, Deja, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, the thing with Islam and the sciences, it's actually a pretty broad topic. There's also something called the Golden Age of Islam, which is something that a lot of Muslims and woke lefties like to do, which is they promote the supposed superiority of the Islamic world over the West, over Europe, when it comes to the sciences. They came up with all these advancements, mathematics, etc. There was no golden age of Islam. It was total fucking bullshit. What you had were Muslim were lands that were conquered and occupied by Muslims, such as Iran, for example, where you already had a culture, an advanced and scientific culture, a culture that actually valued science. And what you had were Iranian scientists, Christian, Jewish, Zoroastrian, who were already established and who were simply allowed to continue under Islamic occupation, but they were not Muslims themselves. And what you had at best was basically some more, perhaps, pragmatic Islamic rulers, Arab rulers, who allowed it to continue, at least for a time. But it had nothing to do with Islam itself or Muslims themselves. That's a myth. It really is. You could say for India, a number of other places. There were some Arab scientists, individual Arab scientists, who did some things and were legit. But these were basically exceptions to the rule, and anything they achieved was in spite of Islam, not because of it. Because at its most basic fundamental level, Islam is essentially anti-scientific altogether. So that's something that you could look further into, Kathy, the Golden Age of Islam and the critiques of that concept, if you'd like to learn more. It's very interesting. That's a good question.
All right. Thank you. I think what we're talking about is when they absorb a culture, like they absorb some architects and then claim that architecture is theirs. They absorb some mathematicians that help them organize things, and they claim those mathematicians as theirs. Yes, that's incredibly likely. The what I was talking about, I got from David Wood and Apostate Prophet. I think they're probably right about it. I'm just glad I gave you a new little weapon against Islam with this eyes are the leather strap thing. I don't know if you found anything on it. Go ahead, Armin.
Yes,
What do you think
I
about this?
did, and thank you for teaching me about Islam, Monkey. I had not seen this hadith before, and it's basically suggesting that I mean, this is interesting. We have a hadith tying eyes to your anus, like when you think you've seen it all. Okay, so apparently your eyes and your butthole are connected to each other, and one closes the other one. So there you go, learn something new every day. So here's what they already knew about Islam, and I'll tell you what this is trying to say, right? And now I know why you're supposed to do the wudu after you sleep, because I didn't know the reason, because we had to do that, right? So in Islam, every time you pray, you have to do the wudu. Wudu is like the religious washing that you do before you pray. Every time before you pray, you have to have the wudu on. And when you have the wudu on, there are certain things that will cancel it, and you have to do wudu again if you want to pray or if you want to touch the Quran, right? One of the things that cancels it is if you fart. So if you do put on a wudu and you then fart right before you want to pray, you fart, then your wuzu is canceled. Then you have to go put on a wuzu again so that you could pray, because you can't pray without wuzu on. It will not count, right? Or if you want to touch the teachings of, if you want to touch the words of Allah and the Quran, your hands shouldn't be touching it unless you have wuzu on. If you fart, then you need to go do it again. And again, many ex-Muslims always mention that one reason that they stop believing in in Allah is that the creator of all the galaxies and all the whole entire universe is looking at my anus and seeing when wind comes out of it, so that whether or not I could pray to him or not depends on whether or not something comes out of my anus. They like, it doesn't make much of a sense that the creator of all the galaxies is like really gets bothered that I'm talking to him right after I farted, right? So this hadith that you read to us, Monkey, is basically teaching you that when you sleep and you wake up, you need to do the wudu again. Why? Because you were probably farting when you were sleeping. That's what this is teaching you. So it's saying basically your eyes, like wakefulness, when you're awake and your eyes are open, that acts like a strap that keeps your anus tight shut. So your eyes being open shuts your anus shut, and makes that your eyes being open will basically mean that this is Muhammad is basically saying that your eyes being open stops farts from coming out of your bum, right? And when you're sleeping, because your eyes are closed, you're basically farting while you're sleeping. So when you wake up, just assume that you farted while you were sleeping, and if you want to pray, put on the wudu again. That's what this is teaching us. So it's a letter. So the eyes being the letter strapped of the anus means that you're farting when you're sleeping.
Okay, I'm learning too because I knew that they were connected, but I didn't understand the logic of why are we even talking about this. So now I kind of get it. I got that from Apostate Prophet and David love talking about this. That's one of their favorite topics. Now I understand why it's so integral to the faith and sleeping and all this stuff. I want to thank you too. Next to speak on this, we have Kathy. Kathy, go ahead.
So before I speak, Ida, can you tell us the story about the devil and farting? Are you there, Ida? Because Armin, you're talking about it.
Only if I may respond.
You can
Yes, of
respond.
course.
It made me think about that story and made me laugh so hard. And then after Ida, I'll tell you my point.
So Armin, it's a Sahih al-Bukhari hadith about how okay. So the call to the prayer, right? For Satan not to hear it, he has to basically run away and fart. That's how we.
Oh, you don't. Okay, let me bring up. Wait, say that again. Say that again. I didn't catch that. You have to run. The devil runs away.
No, and farting
Okay.
because he doesn't want to hear the call to the prayer. It's Sahih al-Bukhari. I forgot the exact. You can search for it, and yeah, you
Okay, I'll
forgot
search.
about the 7 dates that you're supposed to eat daily for not getting poisoned, and that the pregnancy in Islam is basically can last more than 9 months, up to 4 years and stuff. maybe more.
Yeah. I will
And
find
how
the
did you not
hadith.
know? How did you not know about the leather strap? Come on, dude.
Okay, to be fair, I'm ex-Shia. These is all Sunni stuff, okay? But
Okay,
yeah,
so
yes. So
yeah, so the
give me.
so
Yeah.
so for the devil not to hear the
Okay, so I found a hadith. Okay, so there's multiple hadiths regarding
say
the devil and farting. I don't know if this is the one that you're referring to. Satan comes onto you during prayer and blows air in your butt. So he.
that's not
uh,
that's one of them, but no, I'm
Oh,
referring to something else. The Sahih al-Bukhari, I don't remember the numbers. Yeah, but basically for Satan not to hear the call for prayer, he runs away and
oh.
farts.
Okay, so this is the one I found. This is also crazy. Okay, so this teaches you that while you're in prayer, the Satan comes and blows air into your anus while you're praying, so that you think that you farted. But if you get that bloating feeling, don't stop your prayer because you have not farted. Only judge if you hear something or you smell its odor. If you don't hear something or if you don't smell odor, then continue your prayer because this is the Satan tricking you to thinking that you farted by blowing air up your ass. Wow, I did not know about this hadith either. Interesting.
There are many like this. So thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
I can't stop laughing. That just proves my point that the Quran is full of hokum bullshit. But I wanted to say was that even though the Baha'i faith endorses the Quran and Muhammad, and I don't agree with it, we have de-Islamified, and we do completely opposite than what the Quran says to do, and what Muhammad has done. And this is another conversation I've had with other Iranians, for me to look at it in this manner, where as opposed to looking at the Quran and Muhammad as an example of what to do, look at them as an example of what not to do as a Baha'i. And I will also, to answer Samantha's question, Baha'is actually recognize Zoroastrianism as one of the 9 major religions. I wouldn't be could convert to Zoroastrianism, but we already accept Zoroastrianism, so that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. All right.
All right. Every day I am more and more surprised about the amount of butt stuff there is in Islam. There is a lot of it. Like so much. I had no idea. I just want to say this is a lot to take in. It's going to take me a while to process all of this. Well, we have new comments on these hadiths. Go ahead, Jeff.
Don't ruin butt stuff for me. They already fuck everything else up.
Okay. Did y'all also?
Listen. What adults blow where in the privacy of their own home, it's up to them. That's perfectly fine. Dajal wants to speak on this. Go ahead, Dajal.
Thank you. Yes. There's someone mentioned in the Quran that one of the miracles was the moon cracking in half. Just to remind everyone, there were about 30 black genies who also cracked Muhammad's moon. So you have that too. Yes.
So, okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Just sharing the holy wisdom of the Quran.
Yes.
All right. And with that holy wisdom, we should check if there are any super chats. Armin, do we have any super chats?
We do have super chats 3. I just also do want to mention that one claim in Islam that the moon was split in half, is one of the most ridiculous ones. I know it gets talked about less, but many Muslims have been challenged to explain how the hell did the rest of the world not see that, right? Because if the moon was split in half, then there should have been recordings of it. People in Greece, people in all over the Middle East, in today's Turkey, or like everywhere, should have been like whole, like there should have been record, like there would have been so many writings of people seeing the moon being split in half, but we have none of that. And I kid you not, one way Muslims explain that why there's no recording of the moon splitting in half is that, well, people were simply not looking up. Nobody was looking up. In that entire area, nobody was looking up in the sky to see the moon was split in half. Okay, so there's that.
Is there any chance
So
this was a first-person account of Muhammad feeling as his moon got split in half by the Al-Tut?
So yeah, maybe. But the story is that Muhammad was one day surrounded by a bunch of people in, Mecca, that were about to assassinate him, kill him, and then he pulls his sword out and he swings it, and this moon splits in half and then comes back together again, and they get terrified and they run away. That's the story, right? So we got 3 super chats. Sticking Beans with a super chat saying, lots of scientific facts we know today and thought to be modern are already mentioned in the Jewish Talmud. 1800 to 2000 years ago, ancient world was very knowledgeable and to be lost after the Romans. Okay. Yes, ancient Egyptian, ancient Greece, ancient Iranians, ancient Indians. So many of the things that we think that ancient people didn't know, they actually had a lot more information about Earth, human anatomy. Like, it wasn't like, obviously they didn't know a lot of stuff as well, but the idea, some of them, many of the things claimed in the Quran were things that other people, more civilized societies, already knew about, especially about the Earth not being flat. Zipgun, thank you for the super chat saying, I don't defend Muhammad's child marriage, enslaving of the conquered, etc., but it is important that we judge in the context of the time. Otherwise, we misjudge Columbus, Abraham, Jesus. Okay, well, 2 things, Zipgun. First of all, what Muhammad did was actually move backwards. It was disgusting even by the standard of his time, right? So what Muhammad was doing was actually vile and disgusting, not just by the civilized world outside of Arabia, like the Persian Empire and the Roman Empire, but a lot of the things that he was doing was actually it was considered immoral by the people, by the Arabs themselves. I mean, according to their own Muslims, their own stories, right? So, for example, when Muhammad captured slaves, it's in their own stories that his people didn't want to rape the slaves that had husbands, thinking that's wrong. This is just one example, right? It's in their own stories, in the Sha'n al-Nuzul of the verse in the Quran that says that when they capture slave, they wanted to have sex with the female captives, but some of them, they realized that these women had slaves and they didn't want to have sex with them, and the verse came down that no, that's okay, you could go ahead, it doesn't matter if they have a husband. So you could see that Muhammad's standards were actually a, was not something that was accepted even back then. It was a move backwards. So that's one point. And there are multiple examples of that I could show you based on their own stories that Muhammad was going a step backwards. But also the difference is, Columbus, for example, was never Columbus is not a role model. So the problem with Islam is that Islam teaches you that Muhammad is the standard of how you're supposed to be behaving for all people at all times. So if somebody back then was doing some vile, disgusting things, based on, and that was okay, that was basically normal based on that standards of the time, I don't care. That was back then. Keep it back then. Muhammad is introduced by the Quran as somebody that you need to emulate, that his standards are eternal for all, everywhere, for all geography and all time. And that's the problem with Islam, because it makes those standards, it brings those standards back then to today. And then Zipcon with another super chat saying the issue that these things are immoral. The issue is that these things are immoral today, and those who think otherwise are wrong and backwards. I'm actually a moral objectivist. As long as as long as your goal is to maximize well-being, then there's only the best way to. There's only one way. There's only one superior way to increase well-being in society. So I don't think that these things are only immoral today. I think these things, everything that reduces well-being, has always been immoral. Has always been immoral. It just takes societies a longer time to get to a higher standard. I understand that, but have always been immoral, in my opinion, and not just now. And thank you, Zipgun, for the super chat.
My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.